It's 2017 p.m. where I find myself in France. It's the 20th of October, and I intend to talk about evil, my own evil. There's only my own evil, I guess. The books that I promote, I will promote them, but I started the night, by breaking one of my moral codes. Namely, I said that I wouldn't modify my videos. I haven't modified the description, but I removed the thumbnail, the picture, because I realized that I just took pictures on the internet and they are not free property, not yet, or maybe. So just, I said I wouldn't modify my video, but I betrayed this principle because I haven't suppressed any video, I haven't modified the content, I just removed the thumbnail, which is enough to betray myself. But one of the few rules that I have consistently followed is I haven't suppressed any video except in 2019 when I deleted, I think there were, I don't know how many videos, maybe more than 100, there are the numbers somewhere on alt censored, I think 100 and, I don't exactly, but I deleted all my videos that I published in 2019 except, not all of them, but someone preserved them. And since I restarted this channel in 2022, I deleted one video at the very beginning about Christianity because the thumbnail was not very pleasant. But otherwise, consciously, I said myself, I will not delete any video. Whatever I said will come back at me. People will grasp moments or parts of the truth, which is my process. I will be punished for having said or not said some things. Yeah. That's one of the few rules that I still cling to. Yeah. And I've had a weird day because I will talk about evil. Talking about evil is already evil because instead of talking about evil I should do good. But precisely here I will analyze my own evil and make it intelligible for the few people who follow this channel. It's already made intelligible in ordinary reality. I know, but precisely it's difficult to get rid of a disease maybe that I do not fully understand. But how I understand this, first, I've understood this recently. I encountered what I would call evil or real negativity against myself in January 2018, when I really had a really difficult experience, which has had a tremendous influence upon me, because I realized that most of what most people are afraid of, and what I was afraid of and still I'm afraid of partly, it's very different. That's why I understand why people do not understand me and what I do not understand them, because what I've gone through intellectually, now I've realized this over the past few weeks, I can say without shame when I say that I have suffered, and I will still suffer, but yeah. But the first evil that I encountered, which was my own negativity, but it was, as I envisioned this, it was simply uncovering rationally the structure of reality, to look at the world rationally. That's what I call epistemological evil, namely I had no conscious intention of hurting anyone. It was just, I picked out layer by layer, unconsciously, I was driven in the process, the red pill, and I ended up encountering a ontological suffering, let us call it that way. That's why, in order to make this intelligible, it's very easy to be evil. One just has to speak the truth. Usually it's thought to say, the truth shall set you free. Yes, but truth is good, God is the truth, or Jesus is the truth for the Christians, etc. But the ambiguity of truth is not ambiguous. No, seriously, is that lying, deceiving, hiding the truth is considered to be evil, either through deception, lie, hypocrisy, etc. But which it partly is. But to speak the truth can also be a means to hurt the others. And usually, when people they are angry, or when they are resentful, they speak the truth brutally to others, and it's a way to hurt the other. That's why one way of hurting another person is to say, look at yourself in the mirror. I've understood this a long time ago. That's why truth can be a means to be, it is good in a way, but it can also be evil, and not speaking the truth can be good or evil. The example here I will illustrate, the parents who lie to their children about Santa Claus, that's deception, but it's not evil, it's for good, trying to protect from the hardships of existence. The dentist who make anesthesia to his patient to remove a tooth, that's deception in a sense that the anesthesia removes the pain, but it's considered to be good. And then there are secrets, government secrets, etc. Usually, in the modern context, it's for bad in most people's consciousness when they are aware, but it can be for good because, yeah. So truth, hiding the truth can sometimes be considered good by the standards of most people, which is, I agree with them in the sense that, yeah. But also, so hiding the truth is usually considered hypocritical, evil, deceptive, lying, and evil, but it can be sometimes good. Anesthesia is considered good by most people. It's a way of lying in the realm of medicine. That's hiding the truth nonetheless. I thought about this, yeah. And here, yeah, so speaking the truth is considered to be good, but there are exceptions, and hiding the truth is considered evil, but there are exceptions as well. Maybe that's the yin and yang. But the Kantian morality, I have a lot of admiration for Kant. I have tried, and I will still try to be a Kantian in a way. But to speak the truth, first one has to know the truth. I'm not trying to play the trick, etc. But actually, who should we speak the truth to? An insane Kantian could go out in the street and encounter the first person and say, I have the truth, here's my truth. Of course, this would be insanity, unhealthy, and counterproductive, and just nonsensical. That, in this sense, speaking the truth, yeah. Here, I know how it might sound, but actually, speak the truth. There has to be a proper sense of judgment. What kind of truth? To who? When people speak on the internet, potentially it becomes available for everyone. So to speak on the internet, I am aware of this. I may not accept the consequences always, but I will have to eventually. But most people are not aware. That's the first. First, that's a good truth, or maybe not, but that's a truth that I share. For those who have spent 11 minutes listening to me, whatever people say on the internet, it's for everyone. It's stored in the big data, Big Brother, which is actually the cosmic mind. So that's the first one of the truths that I've tried to express, especially recently in most of my videos. And that's kind of the ambiguity of truth. That's just a partial truth, but actually it's a proper judgment in a sense that it's important, and everyone should know this. And people are often surprised when they discover that what they have said comes back at them. But one way of protecting them here would be to tell them the truth, that what people say on the internet, it becomes public. It do not belong to them, to their audience. It belongs to everyone, potentially, to the whole of mankind. That's the process of the mind of God becoming conscious of itself, because the internet is in the realm of technology and hardware and computers and cables and threads, electric threads, etc. The mind of God becoming conscious of himself. So the World Wide Web is the cosmic mind in the realm of technology, one might say. So yeah. Then other kind of truth which are proper in terms of judgment. Democracy, well, it's not necessarily in the ordinary consciousness, it's not the best regime. Then in a higher sphere, yeah, all you know, maybe, but in ordinary consciousness, democracy, yeah, race realism, IQ distribution, the problems of socialism. There are problems with capitalism as well. There are excesses, but the dysfunction, the very structural dysfunction of a socialist economy, not as envisioned by the intelligent socialist, etc., but as it has really existed in a historical process, most of the time, overwhelmingly, it has been a failure in comparison with the goals promoted by those who enacted the policy. So these are the kind of truths which are relevant in a sense that they are partially true, but they are on point, namely that they explain a lot, they enlighten, and they are relevant. Yeah. But then, to speak the truth, so I have tried more or less to do this, or maybe I haven't done this properly because I have misjudged, because other people's do this. The Mises Institute, they talk about the problems of the economy every day. The communist, the anarchist, the intelligent anarchist, and the intelligent communist, they make their lectures on the internet. Greber, Zizek, and communist in America, in France, in Germany, etc., in the Western world, etc. Yeah. So in this sense, here, that's Hegelian, but everyone speaks the truth because everyone is a moment in the totality of the process. But then there are truths which are more relevant than others. That's a sense of judgment. And those that I've mentioned, anthropology, psychology in the terms of intelligence, economics, politics with the problems of democracy, the banking system, the deep state and the control of the various political agents, etc. It's the relevant truth in a sense that it enlightens and it can help solve a lot of problems, or at least become aware of the problems. Yeah. This is the kind of truth which are considered to be good. Yeah. But then, what was I saying? Yeah. Then I have tried to speak the truth while knowing that truth is a process, it's the totality, etc., etc. But by sharing all my personal informations, almost, of also my psyche, personal information about my psyche that I have been discovering through the process. So in this sense, I have been kind of open and transparent. Yeah. And that's really the ambiguity of truth. Namely, I have tried to be honest, and that's why I will not delete anything, but by revealing some aspect of my psyche, the kind of twisted or dark aspect, by making introspection about psychology, psychiatry, psychoanalysis, etc., etc., embarrassing things about me, out of a sense of what I call Protestant duty, namely honesty to God. I made this public on the internet. But this is presented the kind of truth. In a sense, I am good because I have spoken much more truth, and I will still do as long as I can than most people. But this is what most people would consider evil, because it's embarrassing, or it has nothing to do in the public sphere, etc., etc. It's private. We don't want to hear about that, etc., etc. And I understand them. But another problem about evil and truth. If someone has a dark tendency, is attracted by another person, to confess could be considered good, but then it means to confess a sin or an evil or a wicked tendency. So it's good, but also evil. And not to confess would be considered kind of decent, but also it would be kind of lying. But then that's the question: who is owed the truth? God. But God knows the truth, so why bother speaking the truth to God? Here, that's my transparent, not always, but my transparent Protestant self, which is inspired by Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Eminem embarrasses himself in a lot of his songs by revealing embarrassing aspects about him, but that's part of who he is. That's kind of and I have done this, and I will keep doing this. So in a sense, Rousseau and Eminem, they are kind of anti-heroes in this aspect, and I admire them for that. But also Protestantism, which means Martin Luther, direct relationship to God, and partly Kant, one might say. These are my references in terms of this tendency to reveal things. But then, the others, they are not ready, not all of them, or most of them are not, or they are not willing to accept. So I can I talk about this because, so yeah, go back chronologically, evil. Of course, there were evils in my reality before 2018, but it's really the first moment. And then I encountered not evil, but punishment for my own evil, which was I was partly cowardly, I lacked strength, or I was overwhelmed by my fears, and I was punished. That's the second moment when I really suffered. And the third, in 2018, later, was when I really was selfishness, vanity, narcissism in a negative sense, and I was punished again by myself in a way. But these are really the three defining moments. And then when I had my God experience, when I identified with the whole of reality in August 2018, I knew abstractly to be the root of all the evils, because within reality there is negativity, namely evil, injustice, wrongs, deception, corruption, abuse, manipulation, scheming, negativity in the realm of morality, and which brings forth suffering, physical or moral or emotional or whatever. Yeah. And what I have recently discovered over the past few weeks or maybe months, I do not register specifically in my mind empirically, etc., but what I have called good, and what I still call good, people, when they encounter what I call good, or God, good or God sometimes, as a metaphysical thinker, the German metaphysician, as I call this sometimes, they feel, and I understand why, but they experience this as really being negative. They do not call this evil, but they call this you are being arrogant, totalitarian, creepy, boring, embarrassing. That's what they think. So when I try to share what I think and even what I know is good, the way people react is by throwing negativity back at me. And as of now, I don't blame them because I understand, but simply when I try to speak seriously, which I no longer do, or very rarely, namely with my categories, etc., people don't like this because they think it's scary or totalitarian, or I am trying to embarrass them by being arrogant. I am willing to confess, I have confessed my intellectual arrogance, but sometimes I'm not being arrogant, I'm just trying to be serious. And people, they feel, I know how they feel humiliated. That's not my conscious intention. I have done this maybe sometimes with when I trash talk the Anglo-Saxon, but when I trash talk the Anglo-Saxons, I think about people with PhDs. When I trash talk Dawkins and Mr. Krauss and the Anglo-Saxon scientists, I do this because it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but it's kind of also in a playful way, because I know that these people, most of them, they are more intelligent than me. Empirically, they have a higher IQ, etc. They have more knowledge and expertise, but I do not trash talk intellectually the ordinary British with an IQ between 95 and 105. I might have done this, but it's, for me, when I say the Anglo-Saxon scientists, really these are the intellectual elite. I can be very dumb, but I'm smart enough to know that maybe I deluded myself and maybe it's not clear. But when I really try to bring down people intellectually, I think about the intellectual elites, the journalists, the politicians, the scholars, the intellectuals, the PhDs, etc., etc. Or the bourgeoisie, that's my... yeah. But when I sometimes talk vaguely seriously, people feel downgraded and they can react negatively, and I understand why. So in a way, I forgive them, and if I don't, it's because I am arrogant. So that's why I confess my arrogance. I'm willing to confess. And when they accuse me of being totalitarian, I'm willing to confess my system is total in a way. When they accuse me of being creepy, I'm willing to confess in a sense that that's what I say. The negative, the various names are given to the negative, that's what I say in my video. But I am embarrassed on a conscious level of all the negativity. In the sense, I'm an ordinary human, all the crimes, the corruption, the abuses, etc. that we see in the news, in reality, every day, everywhere, more or less. Of course, I find this embarrassing, but this is a part of myself, that is being projected in the world and that I find embarrassing, I have to partly accept that it's a part of me, but also I have I have the will to abolish this in a way. That's why I do politics, and I try to list the problems, etc., etc. But yeah, so this, I find this embarrassing, and this is really evil, and that's why I have a problem with myself, and why I have had a problem with myself for the past 4 years, with moments of disconnection, etc. But that's why I talk about the negative in most of my videos. Yeah. But what I realized that sometimes what I consider good, either in terms of intellectual rigor, I've talked about this, in terms of honesty, when I confess, I have been punished almost immediately by people that I admire, that I respect, that I am attracted to, and that I love, because I have been honest with them right from the start. I can say Apollonian Germ, Caroline, I have been punished for my honesty, because I did not want to consciously manipulate them. Unconsciously, probably in the grand scheme of things, I manipulate everyone because I manipulate myself, etc. Probably, but consciously, that I have a problem with the relationship between my conscious, not my consciousness, but my conscious and my subconscious and my superconscious, whatever. So I've also said this in many of my videos on other channels, Cultural Hegelianism, but I put the link to my channels, Cultural Hegelianism, Phénoménologie d'Esprit, Eternal Light, etc., etc. Yeah, so consciously, I don't want to, maybe I have, but when I, yeah, probably. But when I try to reach people, I try to be honest, partly at least. That's not enough. Yeah, but the whole truth is the totality of the process, etc. But so what I want to say is that when I speak rigorously, I receive negativity. When I try to be honest, I receive negativity. When I am willing to confess aspects of me which are what I call kind of twisted, it can be creepy, but not too creepy. It's kind of, it can be partly embarrassing, but it's nonetheless comical. The fact that I am willing to confess, and I have in many videos, that I am attracted by intelligent, funny, charismatic women. But I understand that from the perspective of the other, it's not acceptable, because they experience themselves as being individuals with their privacy. And I understand this, but precisely this is when the more I receive negative reaction from the other, the more it strengthens not my belief, but my understanding that I am God, although not completely, not fully adequate, etc. But because my level of consciousness, that's why I understand why people do not understand me, and why my channel has no success, almost, because the kind of truth that I'm trying to share is really way removed from ordinary reality. And the more I am punished for revealing the good aspects about me, what I consider good aspects, my intellectual faculties. I know that I can be very smart consciously, and for what I call the good, rigor, systematicity, and to bring really clarity, not an excess of, I've had this tendency to be excessively fanatically intellectual, but just to clarify, to order, to explain. I can provide good explanation. I have to find qualities about me. That's a quality. I can make good jokes. I can be honest. I can be moral because I cannot be completely immoral. I have to be sometimes moral, and I have taken moral decisions. Not always, etc., etc. I am the root of all evil, I know, but I can also do good in terms of morality. But I receive negativity when I confess the good aspects about me. And here, in this sense, I have a problem to find a proper balance between will, stubbornness, and negative insanity. Namely, to be stubborn can be for good, an expression of the will, but an excess of stubbornness, it is really insanity in the negative sense, like Einstein would say. And I try to find a proper balance, and I have this tendency to give up in a way, but it can be when I'm really weak, it can be by a lack of character or lack of strength, but I have improved a lot on this aspect. But most of the time, and more or not, when I give up what I thought was good, it's not because of a lack of will, it's because I really don't want to insist negatively. It's part of my psychology on a conscious level. When I encounter people who they say to me, "You are embarrassing," either they make me understand this or they say it, etc. It doesn't happen often, but I can understand. I lack social intelligence, but I'm intelligent enough to read the other psychologically. When I feel that I am an embarrassment to the other, I retreat. In a sense, I give up, but it's not a lack of will. It's simply because I don't want to hurt the other. I try to exteriorize what I think is good, but then if it's taken to be negatively, I do not insist. And about evil, I have thought that I had first to confess evil, which I have done in 2019, at the beginning of 2022. I have confessed in most of my videos. But then it didn't work, so I have consciously implemented evil by trash talking people when I became more confident, which was the result of accumulating knowledge, etc. By trash talking people, by attacking certain aspects of reality, which I know are parts of myself, but I have to negate certain aspects so that it maybe come back at me. But at least I have so I thought I have to exteriorize my negativity so that it might come back at me. And it will eventually. That's why I will not suppress consciously anything. But then it doesn't work either. It hasn't worked either. So I have understood, okay, but maybe I'm not completely negative. I am partly good. That's what I have understood recently, that I have to love myself in all my aspects, but in my good aspects. And then I try to confess not my evil, but my good aspects. Really, what I really can think is good about me. My intelligence can be for good. Sometimes, really, I have a good sense of humor. I can have morally, well, I can have good aspects. The one that I've listed, honesty. Sometimes I stick to principles, not always, but I can have good aspects about me. But when I exteriorize these while thinking it's good from the point of view of God, I receive negativity, which I understand. But and here I have this conflictual relationship with the others, namely, I want to implement my will in order to do good. But when the other offer a kind of resistance by projecting negativity toward me, I do not want to insist, not because of a lack of will, but because I don't want to bother them or to hurt them. So that's why I've had this tendency to retreat within myself, because like I experienced myself having some sort of a monster in terms of a freak, like in a circus, freaks are being exposed to the public eye. Oh, look, this is a freak. That's partly what I am, intellectually, but then morally as well, I guess. In my behavior, when people hear about me, eventually they will say, you are a freak. I've already been told you are insane, schizophrenic, etc. Of course, I talk about this in my video. I've made introspection. I could pick up a book about psychiatry and analyze rigorously psychiatric issues. But I don't do this because I feel I have a moral duty not to read books, but precisely to share my knowledge, which is the view of the totality, and then explanation with the interconnectedness, etc., etc. When I criticize, I understand also, when I criticize certain aspects of reality, politics, economics, etc., people throw negativity back at me, and here I really don't blame them because it's part of the intellectual process. Here I am really thankful, but in a way, most of the time I am thankful because it enables me to understand myself, to improve, etc. So the negativity that I receive, as of now, it has mostly been really for good, not always directly, but it helps me to understand myself and to improve in a sense. So thank you for the negativity that you send at me. Maybe I will not always say this, but as of now, it has been useful. But yeah, when people criticize me for lack of intellectual rigor, I am willing to confess because I am not an expert in any specific field. I have no education. I have a limited IQ. 131 is very high, but it's limited in comparison with the PhDs, etc., etc. And I have not had the time in my life to really thoroughly study any topic because I understood very quickly that it is before trying to understand any given topic, one has to have a structured, coherent view of the totality. This is what I'm trying to provide. But here, what I've understood also is that here, that's the good aspect about me, is that when I try to share good with them, and they consider this as evil, they kind of react negatively against me, which forces them to unite in a way. And if people can unite against me, that's good. I thought I would have to implement some sort of a super Machiavellian plan, which is partly the case with the various conspiracies, but I have not consciously implemented these conspiracies, but simply by talking normally, when people watch my video, if they do at some moment, they will unite against me because of what I am or who I am, and because I have tried, not because of my negativity, because when I confess my negativity, the kind of what I receive or what I can imagine, it's, oh, but we too, me too, we are just like you. Yeah. If I say, oh, I've drunk alcohol, I've watched porn, I experience sexual desire intellectually, but also partly physically. I've eaten sugar food, I've been partly lazy, I've been a welfare parasite, etc. Most of the sins, ordinary sins that I confess, when I say this, when people hear this, or when they have heard, they probably say, oh, but it has happened to me as well, you shouldn't be ashamed, etc., etc. And then they kind of like me, because I'm like them. But then when I confess my good aspect, intellectual rigor, moral honesty in a sense, I reveal embarrassing things about myself, then they really react negatively. That's why I am inverted, or people are inverted, or everything is inverted, because what I call good, people call this evil. Yeah. And here I will not fake on a conscious level. I really suffer because I did not expect. I mean, I expected to suffer morally and physically. I still do, but I did not expect to suffer because of what I call good, but really in a good sense, like intellectual rigor, honesty, some moral principles. And in a sense, I identify with Rousseau. Rousseau was better than me. But I really do, because to be rejected for what I considered good, and I still do in a way, but although I understand partly why people think this is negative, but to be rejected for aspects that I consider good about myself, there are so many negative aspects that if I am even rejected for the good ones, and here I will speak seriously. The video is already becoming too long, so people will not watch the video, so I will complain that I have no subscribers, I have to make shorter video, but then this is manipulation, and I try not to manipulate, I try to be me, this is the kind of... Here, yeah, I will just make a brief comment. I understand that I think way too fast, because every decision, every circumstance, every event, I can analyze in a very complex way. I think about the consequence, the cause, the relationship to the state of the world, my own personal experience, what I know to be true on a metaphysical level, what I believe to be true morally, what I have said, what I think people have heard about what I say. So I overthink. But I can't, in a way, I can't stop, except when I make these videos where I speak randomly. I overthink. I am paralyzed in every situation because I do not understand what the consequences of each decision might be. Because I don't know who knows what. I don't know who I am. I mean, the formal yeta, but who am I when? Because I have several selves depending on the mood, depending on the intelligence, depending on the wisdom and stuff. So that's why I think really at every waking hour, when I do not work, I mean, I work all day, but actually more and more recently I've been meditating and listening to videos, etc. So it's not really work, but when I do not work, I suffer constantly for being morally tormented, but not as a punishment, but as an inner conflict between, not partly between good and evil, but between two, here it comes from Hegel, but he's right, between two aspects of good. And two aspects of love. What was I saying? Yeah. Here, I say this for myself, but my evil also comes from the fact that I have gone through all the steps of the process of spirit, layer by layer, over the past 6 years, and I have gradually had to learn to suffer and to let go, etc. And other people's, they haven't. They have suffered, and they do, but they haven't gone through all the layers the way I have. So that's why here that's really unfair for others. I am good enough, intellectually at least, to understand that it's really unfair for the others, but how should I explain this? I have had to learn to sacrifice or to let go or of pretty much everything, and it is very difficult just on a transcendental level, just intellectually, to accept that I have to let go of eventually pretty much everything. It's very difficult for me, although I've had 6 years to to know this, and still, yeah. But others, it's even more difficult because I suffer. Why do I speak about myself and my own suffering? Oh, partly because I'm a romantic in the sense of subjective inner lyricism of the soul, etc., etc. To the expression of the inner torment of the soul. That's Rousseau, and then the romantics. Partly Hölderlin and Novalis and the romantic poets in Germany, France, England, etc. But also because my inner soul or my inner mind, I don't know, is partly reflected on the outside. That's why I talk about these aspects of myself, because I know that somehow they are connected with exteriorization, either in other humans or in, I don't really know how it works, but yeah, it can be sometimes a waste, but it's important in the sense that it help enable it enable to explain the behavior of others partly, and yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah. If I could speak peacefully with an other, with others, I could solve all the problems. Not easily, it would take time, but I could be a great therapist. Why don't I do this? Because I know that the whole of reality is interconnected, and I cannot speak with an other. I could, maybe I should have, on the internet, because if I talk about one group of people, when they understand what I say, who I am, etc., etc., all the others, I guess, will be attracted, and it will bring about a problem. That's why I've tried to make plans to anticipate the political change, because, and here that's when I kind of get lost, maybe, or get confused, I don't know, but, and I could go out and speak to people, and I have tried, and this is part of my insanity, because to have a conversation for 10 minutes with a beggar or with an ordinary person, for me this is a relief, because I can speak normally, although it's already too complex. It's not their fault. It's not my fault either. When I speak ordinarily, and the other says politely, it's too complex, which has happened frequently, I don't know what to say. Really, here it's I cannot lower down. Here, that's my maybe arrogant self, but it's not. I cannot simplify more to when I speak ordinarily, and that the other finds this too complex. Here, that maybe that's my arrogant self, I deserve to be punished for my arrogance, etc. There are really arrogant parts of myself that are really negative. But for instance, I illustrate. If I use the word anthropology, epistemology, ontology, for me this is talking ordinarily. But I can understand, or maybe I can't, maybe that's my problem, that for an ordinary person who has gone in her 20s and in his 20s, I can understand that actually if I use the word epistemology, ontology, or even anthropology, or even sociology, it's a common word, but are people aware vaguely of what sociology is? Can they give determinations? I presuppose that everyone can, but actually I think they don't. And here it's really sad because I consciously trash talk people because I want them to react, to negate me. But when I don't, and when they feel offended, I don't blame them. I just I turn to God, not in a oh please help me, but I turn to God and say, but what are we, you and me? What are we? It's really sad, I guess, this aspect. But sad, not in a moral sense, it's really... Yeah. What can I do to change this? Denounce the dumbing down of the educational system, the bureaucracy, the dysgenics. It's not their fault. That's the structure. I can denounce the welfare state, socialism. That's what I do. Mostly in French, but also in the US, in English. Not in the US, but in the English language. But then that's also the suffering, is that the more smart I become, and I become smarter every waking hour, the more I think sometimes, but intelligence is a burden. And the people who are stupid, it's not the arrogance, the arrogant aristocratic who says, I think about Kipling, it was tied to race. Here it's not, but the arrogant aristocrats of the 19th century and earlier, not in relation necessarily to race. It can be within a homogeneous society, but who looks down on the people who say, that's really the negative aristocratic self. But actually, precisely. I correct what I misexpressed, what I did not express correctly. It's not precise. It's not disdain. It's not negative disdain. It's positive disdain, in a sense that those who say they are less intelligent, but it makes them happy. There are two types of disdain. There is, I look down on you, or you are an idiot, or sometimes it can be even worse. I look down on you, but I think it's better for you. This is the kind of racism, aristocratic racism of the 19th century, namely the British, I will blame the British now, the Anglo-Saxon, who looked down on non-whites as some sort of, we have to educate them intellectually, morally, you have to civilize them. It was not disdain, but precisely because it was not disdain, it was even more disdainful, maybe. Here, that's the master-servant dialectic. That's by trying not to be disdainful, it's even more disdainful, even more... while one tries to show respect, although it's aristocratic respect, therefore it's felt as being contempt. So that's the tragedy of the aristocrat. Here, that's why I have Nietzsche and Evola next to me. I don't even read their books, but Here, that's my good Christian self. Sometimes I can be a good Christian. I just want to love others and to help them. But why am I the negative? Did I choose to? Is it an accident? Whatever. I have tried to correct myself ontologically. Oh, there I use complex words. No, but seriously. That's what I've been trying to do. That's the entire story of these 55 minutes. Namely, I knew myself to be the negative, philosophically, ontologically, epistemologically as well. And I have tried to negate myself, and this intention, I've made countless errors, but this intention, what I call good, I have not always been good, I'm willing to confess, I have been very negative, but I have tried to abolish my negativity, and this has brought nothing but negativity. And what I want to express is that there is a part of good in my evil sometimes, namely when I receive negative reaction to some of the things that I say or do, I really retreat in the sense that, okay, I don't want to embarrass you. And if I did, I would say, I'm sorry, probably I'm not, but really sometimes I consciously try to do good. People experience this as, they don't call this evil, but as negativity in the various psychological forms, etc. And then I say, okay, that's the pathetic aspect of negativity. I thought about this afternoon. At Beauty and the Beast, Edward Scissorhands, the Toad and the Princess, Cyrano. The guy who is ugly, it's just an aspect, but it's expressed very well in European mythology. And then when it happened, I said, but the Europeans, they are so wonderful in terms of expression. And then my love for Europe is strengthened, and every waking hour I become smarter, but also it has become a moral torment, a moral struggle every hour. Whether I go out, whether I'm in front of my computer, whether I work or meditate. When I work, I kind of appease the suffering. I exteriorize this through work. But it's a constant torment. But not here. It's not a punishment. Then maybe when it happens, or I would say, oh, I don't deserve this. Here it's not, I am being punished by God or whatever. It's an inner conflict within my soul. Partly between good and evil, but if it was good versus evil, it's very easy. Let's choose good, but actually the cynical or the intelligent will say no. Precisely evil, it's the easiest path, etc. But actually, there is a torment within me because it's not that easy. Precisely. I will conclude on saying this. I know. That's why I suffer from an excess of intelligence, even though I can be very dumb. I know that on a transcendental level, everyone is innocent, and that's why I am evil, because the people that I hurt, whoever they are all innocent. But then, that's when I am in my Lutheran Protestant self. There are various degrees, not of innocent, because eventually everyone is innocent, but various degrees of what I consider acceptable. And I have tried very complex schemes, not scheming, but schemes to try to share the burden with some people, which is already evil, but being just alone against the entire world, it doesn't work. It will work maybe in the future, but it hasn't worked. I have said I'm the negative, blame me. Maybe I haven't said enough, blame me, but no. So I have tried to antagonize consciously a part of a society or a people or whatever, so that they might react, and it hasn't worked, but it will work eventually. But if people, here that's the good aspect about negativity, if people can unite against me, if it gives them, if it helps give them a sense of unity, that's what I thought at a moment in the process, really, that I had to. Here, that's probably the story of the Bible, I guess, to antagonize, to bring conflict between people. No, precisely, not bring conflict between people, but to show the conflict between people and to expose the conflict so that people might turn against me and say, hey, you are the schemer, we recognized you. That's what I've been saying. Here I could be genuinely funny. People could. Here I'm not. People could. They would feel good by uniting against me, but no one watches my video. Maybe at some moment, if I have to be the villain, I could be a great villain. But no. If people can find happiness in negating me, well, I genuinely find this satisfying. If they can say, oh, I genuinely find this, that's really the good aspect about me. But here, the suffering for me, but maybe that there are people really that I love. I've hesitated to use the word I love, but actually I do. I love some people more than others, and to be rejected by these people, it makes me suffer even more. I will end on an honest note. I just want to have a peaceful conversation with others or with an other, a peaceful conversation, and in my empirical life it hasn't been possible, but with an other who can use my references and my vocabulary. That's when I think about Apollonian germ. When I think about Apollonian germ as my best friend, but in order to do so, they would have to peacefully listen to the whole process, to connect. And are there others who can do this outside of myself, to listen to my story? Now I have a story to share, and that's where I hope maybe that there is an all-knowing God somewhere with whom I can speak, not as an author, but maybe who will explain to me God as an entity. There is the intelligence, the creativity, the cosmic God, and the moral God, and of course the moral God in the negative aspect. That's what the religions refer to as the devil, Satan, Lucifer, whatever, Loki, whatever. But even as of now, one might say, the negativity within the moral aspect of God, it's still the complexity. Not here, it's not, maybe it's overly complex, but the I have understood. I have to confront my fears. I am afraid, and I have been afraid of many things, and I still am, but that's part of what I call the joyful nihilism. And that's what, in a way, makes me dangerous for others and for myself, but for others because I have broken myself in the sense that I am disconnected intellectually, but also for the negative aspect, in the sense that I have been so tormented in a way, or morally or intellectually, that whenever people feel good about anything, I accept this as some sort of a joy, like it's not as bad as I thought it would be. That's why I'm kind of always joyful, when I stop the video, I will just go on the internet, read the comments, and that's the good aspect of the negative, namely that all the happy people, whatever their cause or their reason for being happy, as long as I know that there are happy people, I'm kind of joyful. That's one way I have to keep a mental sanity. And when I can make people joyful by negating me, not physically, it will happen at some moment, but if it can help them feel better about themselves, that's the good aspect of me. But here, really, I would speak seriously. I really tend to project onto others scheming that they are not even remotely aware of. And here, this is connected to my intellectual path, the red pill, and this is why the European gods and goddesses, they are the best. I know this because they are like me in many aspects for the good, in a sense that they project onto others schemings and manipulation, and this makes them paranoid, but not irrationally, in the sense that it is partly how things are, but then one becomes very cynical, and it brings a lot of suffering because I suffer. One of the many aspects, my epistemological evil, is that I project onto others negativity, not in a sense of moral negativity, but what I call epistemological negativity, namely, I think that people are way more intelligent in terms of understanding, anticipating, manipulating as well, than they really are. This is why I suffer from an excess of intelligence, and somehow this excess of intelligence, that's how I interpret this. I might change my view, but that's currently how I interpret the problem of God. One way of formulating is that this excess of intelligence causes moral suffering, but also love. So the way I envision God, as of now, maybe I'm deluding myself, but it's an excess of intelligence. It's absolute intelligence, which somehow turns into excessive love for others, but for itself actually, but for others, an excess of love, which is good because it's love, but the problem is that it's excessive. And within this excess of intelligence, there is moral evil, but it's a byproduct of an excess of intelligence. That's how I interpret this. What I intend to do now is whenever I feel rejected, I work harder on not my system, because I've given up on my system, but I work to produce the full speech. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe that's the... I don't know. I will stop doing this, but I need to formalize what I call the system, not in the form of that I've already shared, but simply by sharing names, YouTube channels, what I've done in my previous video about the educational system, the school revolution, but here with all the names that I have encountered, public figures, intellectuals, etc., from mostly Anglo-Saxon countries, but also in French and German, and eventually others, just to show the picture of the totality. In a way, I'm constantly being surprised for the bad. No, because partly maybe I expect a lot of bad, but for not for the good, but I'm surprised in terms of complexity, because to be good, I expected this to be very difficult. Exactly, that's what I've been doing for 4 years, trying to be good, and it has been very difficult. But to be evil, it's very easy in a way, but also it's kind of very difficult. Too complex. But why am I talking about evil? Because when I try to do good by my actions, by being honest, it turns into negativity for the others. That's why I think I can anticipate. People say, "Why? This philosopher." No one watches my video, but this philosopher, wannabe philosopher, he talks about abstractions. You should act instead of thinking. But precisely here, I can anticipate the ordinary critic. Why don't you go out and do good? Because I have tried to, but it's complex in a way, because it would take another hour to explain, but my way of doing good is sharing knowledge, sharing the view of the totality, sharing light, explaining. I have constantly tried to do good in various forms, and it is turning against me. I expected that the others would turn against me, but not because I tried to do good. I thought that they would turn against me because I am evil. But precisely, my video here, I mean, Mutula, but consists in saying I have been trying to do good, and people call this evil. That's why I speak. I grant myself an hour and 20 minutes to speak. Probably during this 1 hour and 20 minutes, people will have starved or died somewhere, etc., which will make me feel guilty. And then I will say, I have to stop feeling guilty. I have to start appreciating myself. What are the qualities that I have? Intelligence, a good sense of humor, sometimes. Well, honesty. But it turns against me. So I just concluded saying that I thought that I had to confess. I thought that I had to introduce evil consciously. I thought that I had to be some sort of play a role, Eminem, the Batman villains, etc., etc. I thought that, then I thought, okay, I just have to be me, and that's enough to be evil. By what I said earlier, speaking the truth, or not speaking the truth, or being tormented between one aspect and the other, etc., etc. But what I started to discover is that now by I have tried various ways to confess my evil or to exteriorize my evil. It has failed, and now that I have tried to share my good, people negate me in one way or another. I should have remained evil. I was happier, you were happier, all of you. Things were better when I was evil. Now that I'm trying to... Every decision is a moral torment because I do not know who I am. I know the formal definition, but I have mood shifts. I have several selves. I have a conflicted personality. So I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am allowed to do, morally or philosophically or ontologically, I don't know. I don't know what the consequences of what I think I do in terms of good or evil, what the consequences are. So I am really blind in this sense. And here, that's when I say, but I'm in a mood to laugh, but actually that God, the real God, is playing with me because when I am broken, I turn towards my only genuinely happy memory, my teenage romance. And that's a root of a lot of my evil, namely when I am really broken, psychologically, physically, I turn toward the one thing that I have loved the most, namely, and that's enough in a way, because if I love this more than the rest, then I neglect everything else, and so but then that's my story over the past couple of months, is that am I allowed to love something other than what was the best? And if God is good, why would God why wouldn't he want, here I turn to an imaginary God maybe, why wouldn't he want us to, I'm starting to arouse the people against God. No, I'm not going to do this. No, if God is so, I would say if God is so great, if love is so great, why? Of course there are people who never experience love. That's not fair. But when it happened this afternoon with Caroline, when I do not think too much, when I tend to forget the complexity, etc., I fall in love very easily in a way. I try to resist, but then I forget. I fall in love very easily. That's that's when I'm in a mood to say that's not fair to make me fall in love, but I don't really care because the pain is worth the price, or maybe not. But when I fall in love, I tend to forget that I have to suffer. So that's the greatness of love, maybe. And then I love the Americans because the American artists, Taylor, Katy Perry, Avril Lavigne, she's Canadian, etc. They know so well. I will explain, and then I stop the video. I have thought, when I'm in my aristocratic super self, I will never love any other ever again, because I know, in the perspective of the totality, that etc., etc. But then, when I'm confronted with the heat of the moment, I can renounce my aristocratic principle for bad, but also for good. Namely, it's very easy to fall in love, actually. I laugh because all the aristocratic principles that I built in my mind, when confronted by reality, precisely, it's much more difficult to apply them. It's almost impossible, or maybe it's impossible. I will be faithful to my Protestant self. I published the video without editing, and then I will work. But my worldview, the one which I know is true intellectually and spiritually, is so ludicrously complex. I cannot express this. I mean, I know this is the truth. This afternoon has only strengthened not my belief, but my knowledge and my understanding. But the problem is I cannot communicate, because it would require so much time and meditation and thinking and reflection for the others to understand my truth in its complexity that I will work, rest, and then because I keep making plans, but not very complex plans, but simply I intend to make a video about this or that topic, and then the circumstances, they ruin even my most simple plans. So I said to myself, maybe I should stop making plans. And but here for me it seems completely irresponsible. But my plans, they become outdated the very moment I try to think about them. So it's maybe irresponsible as well. So how to be responsible? Not modifying the content of my video, revealing my address, my name, etc. And I'll stop the video here, and I will work really, because I need to appease my my torment, which is not a punishment. It's really that the way I experience it, it's an inner torment. I will be punished. I have been, but I will be punished from the external world. But it's an inner torment. It's not. I don't think it's punishment. No, it's simply inner suffering. But here I do not identify as God, because I know that there is a God who controls somehow the process, because maybe he wants to teach me lessons. Work, sleep, and then yeah. I'll meditate as well.